board gamers, and welcome back to Not Board Gaming. I'm your host, I'm Mark. Now, for today's video, we're going to be previewing a game which hits Kickstarter on the 28th of September. The link will be down below. And it's going to be the solo version of that game, and that game is, of course, Voidfall from Mindclash Games. Yes, Voidfall from Mindclash by Nigel Buckle and David Turczi. Now, this is a 4x space-based game for 1 to 4 players. And again, another amazing thing for solo gamers out there is the fact that we get a space-based 4x game that you can play solo. So Mindclash were very, very kind to let me have access to the tabletop simulator mod for the solo experience. Now, the reason it's the TTS mod and not the actual physical version, and there are other videos out there with the physical version, is the fact that the assets for the solo game and the cooperative game weren't ready in time to get them out to previewers. So therefore, we agreed that I'd go through and play it on Tabletop Simulator. So I only got access to this a couple of days ago, and David Turczi was very, very kind to take myself and Michael Kelly through the rules on Friday, and we're now on Monday, and then I played it 1.5 times over the weekend. As you can imagine, it's a Mindclash game, and therefore there are quite a lot of rules, so you'll have to bear with me as I potentially reference just a few rules. I've got my MacBook set up next to me with the rule book there, and I may well just get a few rules wrong as well, but that's okay. I just want to give you kind of an indication of how the game plays solo. Another thing to mention is, of course, the game is still in development. And even as David was teaching us the game on Friday, he was saying that, oh, this part might not be in the final game and that part might not be in the final game. But it is kind of, it will give you an idea on exactly how the game plays. So what I thought I'd do is I would take you through one of the cycles in Voidfall. Now, there are 3 cycles in each game, and the game is depending on how familiar you are with the cards and with how the flow of the game works. A game is probably going to take you around about 90 minutes as a solo player to play. Your first games are obviously going to be a lot longer than that because, you know, there are a lot of rules to learn and a lot of icons to get used to. But once you get used to those icons, then you will start making some really good headway and start building your strategies fairly quickly as you go through the game. So, what is Voidfall? So, as I mentioned, Voidfall is a 1 to 4 player 4x space game. And what happened is that the Novarks have ruled the Dominium, that's kind of the futuristic human empire, for a long, long time. And they rose to prominence by delivering technology, etc. And everybody thought it was because they were so clever. But it turns out they were being influenced by something called the Voidborn. And the Voidborn's only goal was to try and take over the galaxy. And what's happening now is the Voidborn's presence is spreading throughout the galaxy, and a rift has opened. Now, in the multiplayer game, and the competitive game, should I say, it's a while after the rift has opened, and the game will play differently. In the solo or cooperative game, the rift has just opened, and what you've got to try and do is you've got to try and close that rift to stop the Voidborn from spreading their influence far and wide. So, as a game, it's going to take place over 3 cycles, and each cycle will have a number of rounds that will be determined by what happens as part of the setup. And as you can see, I've kind of got the board laid out in front of me here for the solo game. So I just want to go through a few things. Now, there will be things I'm going to either miss or pass over or not be able to cover, but you'll see some of them as the game comes along. But as I say, the game is still pretty much in development. So here we have my player board, basically, and this is where I'm going to track everything that I can track. Over on the right hand side here, we have the various kind of tracks that, as your technologies and your civilizations, should I say, starts to improve, they will move up these tracks. And we can see the first one is the society track, second one is statecraft, and the third one is economics. And there's certain actions in the game that will mean you move up these tracks, and you can see you get certain things. Now, all these icons won't mean a great deal to you at this stage, but at some point they will start to make sense as we start playing the game. What you'll also see as well is this kind of line going across here, and these are lines that when one of these counters passes that line, not only do you get the benefit underneath it, but you get to upgrade one of your technologies, and that's these here, and I'll show you some other technologies. There are some over here as well, and I'll explain them as the game goes on. Over here is our upkeep track. This is just to at the end of each cycle. What you have to do is you have to pay upkeep, and this just allows you to keep track on how much upkeep is there. We have our potential starting agenda cards here, and I'll talk about those as I choose which one we're going to do. And then there are further agenda cards under subterfuge, growth, and expansion. And I think that is now going to be 4 decks as the game progresses as well. And you get those agenda cards. They're effectively your kind of scoring engine, and what you will do at the end of each cycle is you will score based on what agenda cards you got and what conditions you filled in on those. Over here we have our production and our resource tracker. So just zooming in here, we can see production is down the left hand side, and that is increased by the amount of guilds that you will put out there, be they food, be they technology, be they science, etc. And that production also triggers then the actual resources that you got, which are down here. Now, interesting thing to note on this is that one click doesn't necessarily move everything up by 1. There we go, you can see. Sometimes those clicks will move things up by 2. Sorry, by half of 1, and you have to do a number of clicks to move them on. And that is exactly what the game means to be doing as well. It means that you sometimes have to work a bit harder to up your production. Again, all this will become apparent as we play the game. So over here we have kind of the technology board, if you like, and here are the various technologies or upgrades that we can potentially purchase at some point throughout the game. And there are more in there. Now, not all of the technologies and the upgrades will come out throughout the game, so you have to be mindful of there as well. Here we have a trade token, and you're going to take those at certain parts of the game and put them on your technology tiles to stop the upkeep. I'll explain this in a bit as we set the game up. I'm just going to whiz past the main board. I've already mentioned here the kind of the agenda cards, and as you can see, these are various things, and these are scoring mechanisms here. So for example, if all of my, I think this is right, if all of my technologies here, and I'm just going to go to the compendium, if all of my technologies are at least level 1, that's correct, then I will score 10 points there, basically, so 10 victory points. And that is not technologies, it's my, there we go, my tracks here. So everything, if everything is at least a level 1, so if all those are there, then I will score 10 points at the end of each cycle for that. And what else have we got here? For every population dice I've got that's not on a corrupted sector, and again we'll explain that as we go through, then I'll get another point there. There's more there for technologies, and if I only have 1 corruption on my card, I get 10 points, and then for every kind of either technology or upgraded technology, I get 4 points on that. And there, that will for every production, if my production of my food is up to 10, then I'll get 10 points. And if I have materials, each material guild that I have on a non-corrupted space will give me 5 points. And there are more of those in there, and those will possibly cycle as the game goes on. Down here, we have the various technologies I can buy at some point, and there are 1 and 2s of those basically, but there are certain actions that will require, that mean I will be able to buy those technologies, but you can't just get them willy-nilly. There's certain actions that you'll have to take for that. Down here is kind of interesting. So this is only for the co-op and the single player game, and this is like the crisis deck. So as a solo and a co-op player, what's going to happen is you have these various crisis cards here. You're going to reveal one of those and place it on here, and that will be a current crisis, and that's going to happen each turn. And you either resolve that crisis, or you pay the penalty, or it goes onto the board here. And if it goes onto the board and they all start filling up, it can cost you more resources each turn. If it gets pushed off the end of the board, then you have to put it down here in your catastrophes. And what happens there is if you get 4 catastrophes at any one point, then you have lost the game. So managing these crises becomes a really important part of that. I'm just going to skip these cards, and I'll explain why now, because down here we have my various focus cards. So we have, I think there are 8 or 9 to start off with, and then others are introduced after the first round. And these are essentially your actions that you will take throughout the game. There we have Unity. That's a bit of a strange to show you. Here we have Prosperity. So what this would do, I'm allowed to take 2 from each focus card. Whenever I play a focus card, take 2 actions. If we look at the top action there, it says I would lose 1 food resource and 1 energy resource, but I would move 1 up on the economics track. So if we go back over, it's here, So if I played that card and chose that action, I would move up on my economics track. Now you can see this little arrow here. That means I would skip past that and I would go straight up there and I would get a trade token. So that's prosperity. Then we have, sorry, where's that prosperity? Unity, prosperity, development, conquest. That's for things like raiding, etc. Temptation, progress, politics, production. And then we move on to my upgraded technology for the technology I'm going to choose, and also my priority cards. And again, I will explain those in a second. Finally, let's get onto the board itself. So we can see that we have various sectors out here. So if we look here, this is my home sector here, and you can tell it's home because I've got a little home symbol on there. And then this sector next to it that's been set up for me, that's a pure sector that I also control. I'll explain how I got my corvettes and what fleet power is in a wee while. Down here we have the various guilds. Now, there are scenarios in the game, and this is set up for the first scenario as a solo player. There are a number of scenarios for competitive, solo, or cooperative. So the map it tells you what the setup is on there. And these are guilds. So each of these guilds basically will generate resources for me. So the more of each guild that I have, the more my production level goes up, and therefore the more resources I can get. You can see here that's an energy, that's a miners guild, so that gives me materials, and that's a farmers guild, so that will give me food, and you need food definitely throughout the game. This here is a population dice, and this tells me what the population is of that particular sector. Now, really important thing to stress about not just population, but about the entire game of Voidfall is that you're not going to be looking at this on a macro level. Okay, these particular corvette fleets here with these one fleet power don't represent one ship, they represent tens of thousands of ships. What you've got to do is actually kind of take a real step back and look at this as if your various cycles that you're playing take millennia to play, and the amount of kind of food and energy that you're using, and the resources that you're using, and the population, we're talking kind of an entire galaxy's worth, or an entire solar system's worth, if you like, in that particular sector. So if ever anything feels like it doesn't make thematic sense, it's never a one-on-one battle. These battles will take place over 10, 15, 20 years, etc., where you see those happen. It's a really important part to remember. So that has a population of 3 there, and that will trigger my production at certain points. As that goes up, my production goes up as well. I've also got this here, which is a shipyard, and that will allow me to effectively put more of these corvettes and these ships out on the board. And you can see some other spare spaces there for things like shipyards and for sector defences. So yeah, if we look there, so I got the home one there with those 3 guilds. Then I've got another corvette set up in my next neighbouring pure sector. And that's got a population of 2, and these are pure because there's no corruption in there. And if you look here at this here, this is corruption, and that means that the Voidborn have kind of infiltrated it. And as we can see here, we have a corrupted fleet there, we have a couple of corrupted fleets, another one there, and they kind of go throughout the map. They're up there. And the aim of the game is to try to get enough points and enough strength in my fleet so I can do battle in the rift over here. If I can close the rift and win the game with more than 300 points, then there we go. I may have won the game, but let me tell you, it's yeah, you're going to have to work out your strategies for this to be able to do that. So I think that's kind of more or less everything I want to show you in this brief kind of run-up. Everything will become apparent as we go through it. There are, as I say, kind of 3 cycles that we're going to play, or that I could play. I'm only going to play the first cycle, just to give you a taster on this, and then maybe do a video of cycle 2 and a video of cycle 3 to release another time. And the cycles happen, you have the preparation phase, you then have the focus phase, and you then have the evaluation phase. So all this here is kind of within the preparation phase. Then we have the focus, which is this here as well, and I'll determine what those events are. Then we have the focus phase, which is where I'm going to play focus cards from my hand. And then we have the evaluation phase, where I have to pay for upkeep. You start with kind of 20 points, 20 victory points, and those will go up as the game progresses. And the winning conditions are over here. So if I have got 300 or more points and I've closed the rift, I've won. However, if you don't manage to do that, you're then playing at points against the game. And that is going to be they will start off with 230 points plus 50 points for every open rift, 10 points for any catastrophe card that's there. 10 points for any technologies they've consumed. 10 points for any crisis cards that are still in play. Then they will get 3 points for any corrupted sectors, any fleets on the board, any corrupted sectors, and any sector defenses that are in their sector as well. They will also get 3 points for any corrupted technologies, and then 3 points for any reclaimed sectors they've got. So therefore, you have to beat a lot, and let me tell you, that's a challenge. So there's 2 victory conditions that there are. Say, gets 300 points, close the rift, or beat the Voidborn score there. So let me just take you through kind of the initial setup and exactly what I'm going to choose to play the first cycle. Okay, so the game is kind of mainly set up. Fortunately, there's a 1-player kind of solo setup, and then I've just messed it around a little bit just to bring everything that you can see in line. What you get in the solo and the cooperative game are these joint focus cards, and you lay 3 out. And again, if I use the unity action, I'll show you what they do. But the first thing that you're going to do, once you've chosen your player board, is you are going to choose one of your 2 kind of starting agendas, and this is going to go in here. And these have various things on them. They will tell you what kind of the production levels are that you're going to set, and also what resources you have, as well as any kind of which is the fleet going to your reserve as well, and what ships you put on the map. And then if you go over the back, there's your continuous scoring engine. If you hit those throughout the game, or every end of every cycle, you're going to kind of do that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this one, and I'm going to choose this as my initial agenda, and you put this up here. So if we look here, we're going to set everything here. So it's 4, 3, 3, and then 0, 0. So 4, 3, 3, 0, 0 on production, and then we get 3 on food, 3 on energy, 3 on materials, 4 on science, and 4 credits to start off with. So I don't have any bankers guilds that are up there as well. And it says here that in my home world, I'm going to start with a which is this here. I'm going to start with a food, a materials, a food and materials, and an energy in there as well. So that's what we'll do. We've got food, materials, and energy in there. And it says also that I'm going to have the population of 3, and I'm going to have a corvette with 1 fleet power in there, and that's where I've got, look, there's 1 little cube in there. And then in the next sector, I'm going to have a corvette with 2 in there, with a population of 2, and that's what you can see. So we have that all nicely set up already. So that's my fleet power. Okay. Then we're going to, the other thing to show you is, first of all, I'm going to get 2 fleet into my reserve. And let me just talk about that a second. See these little pink cubes here? There we go. I'll just move that in actually. 1, 2. We've got 3 in there. These little pink cubes, these are your fleet power. And you either deploy them onto the board, so they would fit into the bases of the corvettes, as you can see there, or whichever fighters and fleet power you've got out there, or you would spend them. Basically, what you would do is you would put them back into there from there to spend to get certain actions. You will also recall them, so if these get destroyed at any point, so if you're into combat with a Voidborn, those don't go back into there, they go back onto my reserve, so they get recalled, and there are certain actions that allow me to recall as well. It says there that I start with 2 of those, which I've got, and I also move up on the science track as well. So there we go. We're going to move up on the science track. It's over here, sorry. And we don't get the benefits because that's already been accounted for in these calculations just here. So everything there is kind of set up. Then we're going to flip this over and I'll show you what it is. Right, okay. So, we have here's my ongoing scoring for you, basically. So, 1 second. So, at the end of every cycle, I will get the points value that's on each of my technologies here. If I've got a population of 5, I will get 5 points for that. So, for every die that's a population of 5, it's a non-corrupted sector, I will get 5 for it. For every population that's set at 6 in a non-corrupted sector, I get 10 points. For every guild that I have there that's not a banker's guild, I'm going to get 2 that's not in a corrupted sector. And then for every banker's guild that's not in a corrupted sector, I will get 4, and I'll score that at the end of each cycle. The next thing it's asked me to do, that you do at your setup, is you choose one of your 2 starting technologies. Now here we have, I'll just pull that back out, I've already chosen this. I could have gone torpedoes or star bases, so I could have created one of these star bases here, which is there, as with this technology. But what I decided to do is actually take torpedoes as my starting technology. This means that during combat, if I have any number of corvettes present, then I can deal 1 additional damage during the first salvo step, and that's pretty powerful. So what I'm going to do is take those out of the game, because I'm not going to be using those. I put the starting technology onto my board, and that means I've got that. And then, where's the upgrade? 1 second. Yeah, that's the upgrade. And then the upgrade is going to go into my hand here along with my cards. The only thing I've then not shown you is the priority cards, and that's these here. And the priority cards, essentially, they allow me to get like a resource at the beginning of each cycle. If you're using them in the co-op or multiplayer game, then you would use them to set turn order. But for me, they allow me to get stuff from them at the beginning of each cycle. That's pretty much my setup done. Okay, so now we can go into the first cycle and show you how the game plays. Now, it's a Mindclash game, as I said. I've only had the game since Friday. Got the rules here. I'm going to get a few rules wrong, possibly, and I'm going to be referencing my the rule books that I've got here. So do bear with me through this. We'll play through the first cycle, and I hope you enjoy it, because it's a pretty damn great game. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get through the preparation phase. So I've got all my cards back in my hand. You kind of skip some of this on the first go, but one of the things I need to do is take one of these event cards out of here. Now each cycle has 2 event cards. I'll flip those over, and then we get to choose one that has some negative and some positive effects for me. So the first thing is here is we got a technology boom, technology boom, and know your enemy. So let's have a look at technology boom to start off with. Each player adds 1 sector defense and 1 banker's draft to 1 adjacent Voidborn sector. Up in the top right, you can see a little icon with a cross through it. That means they don't absorb any hits on this particular cycle. And I can also use my innovation focus this cycle as well. So there are 2 cards I can't use in the first cycle as a solo player: Unity 2 and Innovation. So that's quite useful. Now, if we look at this particular icon, just here, which is this one, that's how many rounds there are going to be this particular game. So how many turns there are, should I say, this game. So that means I will be playing 5 turns this game. That's good in one way, because I can play more cards, but it's bad in another way. It gives the Voidborn more opportunity to actually do bad things against me as well. And then if we look down at the bottom here, so, well, that first of all tells me it's the first cycle. That tells me how many rounds turns there are. Then down at the bottom down here, we have objectives. Now, I'm going to play this a little bit sandbox style, so I'm not really going to play with the objectives. And David did say that these objectives in the bottom are subject to change as well. And I think some of this iconography needs potentially clearing up. So I think that's if I've got 2+ bankers drafts in any sectors, then I get a reclaim token. I can also add a fleet die to my reserve, and I get a bounty token as well. I can increase 1 technology. I can take an agenda card to hand, and I can increase my resources by 3, maybe. So I think, just for clarity, I'm not going to play with the objectives on there, because I think that's potentially a lot to undertake as well. So take a look at the second card. This says I can add 1 sector defense to 1 adjacent Voidborn sector. I can add 1 corruption to each subterfuge agenda on offer. But however, I do remove a Voidborn fleet from any sector containing 2+ Voidborn fleets. It's only 4 rounds as well. But, you know, I don't want to take on any corruption. It's going to happen anyway. So we're going to put that in there, and that's the one that we're going to discard. Okay. So we know I've got 5 turns this particular go from my cards I got down here. But remember, it says I can use innovation as well. So that means I can add innovation, not Unity 2, innovation into my hand as well. So that gives me some more options to go at there as well. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to turn over a crisis card, and we'll see what the latest crisis is. And what this says is resolve growth agenda effect while having a turn order tile of 8 or lower in play. So this potentially marries up more to cooperative or to competitive. So these are the turn order ones here, and you can see I've got 9, 10, 11, 4, etc. So I could put one of those in play below 8, get the resource from that, and then I have to take a growth agenda. What's the one on there? And have one maximum on that, which is potentially possible, to tell you the truth. So that may well get done, but that's going to go on the board at some point. If I don't complete it this turn, I can either take the penalty at the bottom, which is down here. So I'll do a deployment and spawn seeder in the same sector, or I will put it on here, and that can then increase the chance it's going to be a catastrophe. So that's the crisis. First crisis done there, and you can see that's blue, that's blue and red up there. So you've got blue up here, red down here. If it's blue at the top, it goes up there. If it's red on there, it goes down there. If it's either, you can put them in either one. There's also grey ones which you don't put on the track, you just have to resolve. So yeah, okay, right, first go, here we go. So as we can see over here, I've got one fleet here and 2 fleets up there. But if we look up here, there is just one corrupted fleet up there. I've got an early chance of stealing a march on this particular sector, if you like, and potentially trying to invade. But I've also got this sector here as well, which would give me an opportunity. If I look at their fleet strength, it's 3, and there's no sector defense in there as well. Okay, so let's think about what I want to do. Oh, I forgot to put that bit in there as well. I get to put a sector defense and also a bankers guild onto one adjacent Voidborn sector. Could you have a looked at that? So we shall do that just there, and a bankers guild which is there, and we move that production up by the number of the population die there. So that's 2. So I can move my production for bankers up by 2. 1, 2. There we go. Okay, so maybe I want to get a little bit of fleet power in there first before I then actually try and go out there and start invading. So I might try and build up my army just a little bit. So let's have a look at what we got. Where's reinforcements? Reinforcements is there. So wherever I've got a shipyard, I can then add a sector defense into that, and that's there. However, I may want to build another shipyard. So here we go. So this will cost me a cube, but I can take a defense. Okay, so this is what we're going to play then. We're going to play prosperity early on, I think. Let me show you. Oh, that's unity. Let me show you the prosperity card. And here on prosperity, if I spend 1 food and 1 energy, I go up on the economics track. If I do a Voidborn deployment and spend 2 food, I get victory points for each of those there. But if I then spend one of my fleet cubes, I can take an agenda card to hand, and I can also place an installation. And installations are the little the triangular ones. So I think we're going to play this card. Okay, so the first one that we're going to do is we are going to do the bottom card, and that is I'm going to spend one of my fleet cubes, and that's those there. Okay. And I'm going to take an agenda card to my hand. And we know that if I take the growth agenda cards, then that's really good. So we'll take that into my hand, which is there. Yeah, and I can play that at any point, and we'll just flip a new one over there. That's good. But I also get to place an installation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my shipyards here, and I'm going to place it in this particular sector. So this sector now has a shipyard and a sector defense, and this one just has a shipyard, but that allows me at some point to beef up my reinforcements. So that's the first action I've taken. That's the bottom one down there. Now the next one, I can get some early march on victory points here, but in reality, it's not much good for me. I don't have any star bases. I don't have any. I only got 1 bankers guild, and I don't have any science yet. So I'm going to do the top one, which means I have to spend 1 food resource and 1 energy resource to move up on the I think it's the economics track. So there's 1 food down, there's 1 energy down. Look down here at the economics track, I go straight up there, and I get to take one of these tokens. Now just before I take that token. Oh no, I can do it. I can place that onto. No. Yeah, I can place that onto my card just here. Okay. So if you place this onto this agenda card here, and I also get the benefit that's underneath it. So that should be locked. So, and down here it says I get to take a bounty token. So we'll go up to the bounty bag, take one of these tokens out, flip it over, and it says there I get two energy resources, which is great. So put that over there. So the energy I spent already, I'm going to get 2 back. 1, 2. So that's good. And what these trade tokens do here, that you can see here, is if I flip them over at any point, I can take an additional action. But also when you've got them, they stop the upkeep on any of the agenda cards that you played. So that's my 2 goes done there. Now let's just look at this agenda card I've picked up. It's in my hand at the moment. This is going to cost me 2 to play, but I can, if I got to play it with the population card, it's going to cost me 2 food to play, but I get to put down a food, an energy, and the materials in any population, and increase population on any sector that's not corrupted there. So that's kind of interesting. So yeah, do we want to play that now? So if we look at the card that relates to, there you go. You can see the second action there. It allows me to play an agenda card by playing that particular action. So maybe I'll play that in a second. It also grants me some production on science. So maybe I'll play that in a wee while. Who knows? Oh, I forgot to play my priority card, didn't I? Okay. So let's play the priority card then, and we'll get that. We'll play that particular card. The one I want to play. No, we don't, because maybe I can resolve that. So we'll play that a little bit less. And what we got? That gives me an extra fleet power. So we'll play 7 that there. Okay, I should have played that to start off with, but that's my priority card, and I get an extra fleet cube. So one of the ones I just put there, I get to put that there. So that's my 2 actions done on there. I could flip that trade token for a 3rd action, take my 3rd action, but I'm going to save that for the time being. And that's that particular part done. All I've done really there is kind of just beefed up my my sector defense and increased my shipyard for a potential fleet movement. I still control 2 sectors, so that's not too bad. Right, okay. So we now kind of cycle back around a little bit, and we have a look back at the crisis phase. So we're back in here now. Okay, so first card done there. Did we resolve this card? No. So did I resolve the growth agenda effect while having a turn order of 8 or lower in play? I didn't, and that's there. So if I didn't do that, I can take the penalty at the bottom, Voidborn deployment plus Spawn Seeder in the same sector, or I can put it onto the board. Now this is a blue one, so it would go at the top, and I think I'm going to resolve this, certainly in this cycle. So I think I'm going to put that on there rather than take the penalty from that. However, it does have an effect on me here. So if we just put that up there, that's okay. All right, so that is now in play, and I can resolve any of these at any point. I don't have one in hand. If I've got another agenda card, I could do that. However, I just want to show you the top of this board. If you look at the top right, you can see, if we look up here, that we got, up here, 3, 2, 3. 3 different cycles, and that's 3 cycles of the game. Now we're going to get around to the kind of second turn of the cycle. I'm going to have to pay turmoil, and that's what this is here. And I have to pay a resource cost here, because I've now kind of progressed this along there, and that is just 1 resource. I'm okay for that point. As you can see, as we get towards kind of the 3rd round, it's 3 resources. Second and 3rd round, it's 3 resources. Those things get progressively kind of a little bit more punishing at there. Okay, so that's the first one there. What we're going to do is just make sure we're okay for that. Yeah, I've got the and I've got the Bankers Guild. Increase my upkeep. Okay, so we'll do that. Take over another crisis card. And what's this one say? Bickering at home. Place So I have to place corruption on an occupied slot, and that's how I particularly win this. If not, a skirmish is going to take place, or it goes into the pile. And I'll explain what skirmishes are, because it probably looks like we're going to have skirmish on this, because I don't want to place corruption in an occupied agenda slot that I have. Okay, so let's have a look at the future cards. So we know that that was development. Development there will allow, no, it's not development, was it? It was, which one will allow me to play here? Innovation card will allow me to play an agenda into my hand. It'll also allow me to upgrade a technology for 2 science. I have 4 of those, that's okay. And it will also then progress on those there. So maybe what we'll do is we'll do a little bit of reinforcements on this particular cycle then. So reinforcements allows me to put some cubes out. I'm just going to really confirm with the compendium. Bear with me. I did say I would be kind of constantly looking at the compendium and just making sure I got the right thing. So if I pull up that reinforcement card, the top action says, fleet deployment, spend 2 materials, which I've got 3 of, that's okay. For each, and then for each shipyard you control, you may deploy 1 fleet power to that sector. The second action is preparations, and that says spend 2 energy, and then I can regroup up to 3 fleets, build 1 sector defense in a sector you control, score 2 influence per sector. I have at least 1 sector defense in. And then the last one is paradigm shift. Spend 1 fleet power from your reserve to advance any one of your civilization tracks. Build 1 sector defense in a sector you control. So I think what we're going to do is, first of all, we are going to play that reinforcements, because I want to start kind of building up my military might. And I've got this very handy card here, which says during the salvo step I get an additional hit. I get to profit an additional hit in the salvo step, so that's good. Okay, so first thing is, the first action is I'm going to spend 2 materials, so that 1, 2, and I'm going to beef up my fleets, basically fleet power. What have I got? I've got 2 down here, and I can, in each area where I've got a shipyard, I can add an additional fleet into there. So there we go. We will add that into there, and we will add that into there. So already my fleet power here is pretty good. We're up at 3 here. Down here the fleet is a power of 2, but that's making this good to go into any of these real sectors, because I've got kind of, well, I will have initiative up there, so that's pretty damn good. Okay, so that's the first one done. Yeah, I can do those powers, and just make sure on that, for each shipyard you control, you may deploy 1 fleet power to that sector, so that's good. I have them to deploy. Then I get to choose my second action. And I could spend a cube. I don't have any, unfortunately. So the next one is to regroup. And to regroup, it says I can, where is it? Reinforcement focus. Spend 2 energy, regroup up to 3 fleets, build 1 sector defense in a sector you control, score 2 influence per sector you have at least 1 sector defense in. Well, I'm not going to regroup because I'm quite happy. I didn't want to do that. What I could do by regrouping is effectively split those. I could have an army of 2 and an army of 3, or put them all, if there was 2 and a 1, I could put them all together. I'm not going to do that. So we're not going to regroup, but what we are going to do is we're going to put a sector defense in this particular sector here, the home sector. It doesn't have one, and they won't invade that, but it's the only one I control. And there we go. And that goes in there. And then on that reinforcements, it says there, I will then score 2 victory points for each sector I've got a sector defense in. And there we go. I've got 1 in there, 1 in there that I control. They're not corrupted, and therefore I will have 4 victory points, and we're already up and running on the victory point track. 2, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that's kind of, I could, no, well I can't because I've got nothing in my reserve here. Remember, if I flip that trade token, that would mean that I would be able to kind of take the third action there. Just show you that on there, but that's not going to happen because I don't have any additional power in here. Okay, so that's those 2 actions done. We're going to go back down to the crisis now and see what it says. I didn't place a corruption on an occupied agenda slot because the only occupied agenda slot I've got is this here. And quite frankly, I'd be crazy, because as soon as you put corruption on there, it stops you kind of getting the agenda power that's on there. So I'd be crazy to do that. However, let's have a look what else there is. I've not done that. Not done that. And there's nothing there for a cedar there as well. Okay, fine. So then we're going to move down, and we're going to suffer what's down at the bottom here, which is going to be a skirmish. So a skirmish is where they're going to come and they're going to attack me based on their fleet power. They can't attack my home sector, so therefore they will do damage in the one area where they think they can do the least, either wipe me out completely or do the most amount of damage to me. And for skirmish, what we do is we look down here and we've got this kind of, this is their kind of, their values down here. And because you can see that card is covered up, their initiative value is 3 on that. So my initiative value is 3 as well. So let me just copy these across, because you don't, what you do, you don't move them across, you actually take those from the supply. So 1 second, 1, 2, there's 3 that come in there on the approach. So they've got an initiative of 3. My fleet power is 3, and there's a little kind of handy guide here which tells you what happens on that. So it's the number of cubes that I've got is my initiative. My initiative is 3, their initiative is 3. That means that we both kind of take, rather than one of us having a march on the other, we take simultaneous turns. However, combat is completely deterministic, by the way. It is completely deterministic. It's by the initiative and the amount of fleet power that you've got there. If I had higher initiative, then what would happen is they would take their shot. They would take their shot first. If they had higher initiative, they would. If I had higher initiative, they would take their shot. I would take my shots first. They had higher initiative, they would take their shots first, and you go at each other until one of you is wiped out, or both of you is wiped out. Now, I have two very, very good kind of things happening here, right, for me. So first of all, we have the sector defense, and because the sector defense is in my area, what happens there is that takes one of them out straight away. That's boom. Because over here, if you look at that card up in the top right hand corner, they don't absorb anything. So that's one of their fleets gone already. Now, seeing as we've both got an initiative of 3, what's going to happen now is that we're both going to take our shots simultaneously. But I also have another kind of clever thing in my arsenal, and that's these torpedoes here. Which means that if I have any number of corvettes present, which I do, on my first salvo step, and we're now moving into the salvo step, I will deal an additional damage. So I will deal 2 damage. So what's going to happen is we're going to fire at each other simultaneously. I am going to take a damage because they've hit me once, but they're going to take double damage from me because of that salvo step. And there you go. I have survived that skirmish. All it cost me is 1 fleet power, which never goes back into there unless I spend it. It always stays on your board. So it's been recalled. And I've actually completed that crisis card there. So it's a skirmish, but you know what? It worked out in my favour. So that's not too bad at all. Now let me just check. I don't think there is a benefit for a skirmish. Just bear with me. Now this is the thing I say. I know it's Minecraft and Mindclash. What am I? 12. I know it's a Mindclash game, so therefore some of the rules just take a little bit of kind of looking up sometimes. I don't believe there's any benefit for skirmish. If I was invading, then there's a benefit there, but for skirmish, I don't think there is. No, there isn't. No. Okay, so that's defeated that crisis card, and that's great. And that's happened at the end of that turn. So I've taken 2 turns this cycle. I built up my fleet a little bit. I survived a skirmish, but now I can take my next go. And what are we going to do? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to flip this crisis card and we'll see what it is. And this says, after resolving a reinforcement focus, I've already done that, have all civilizations on all civilization tracks be era 1 or higher. Now, these are the eras here. These are actually going to be called tiers, I believe, not eras. It's just like what they're called at the moment. That's not going to happen this game, so that's not going to happen. So at the end of this, I've got to lose an agenda card from my hand or from play. Now remember, agenda cards are your kind of your scoring engine, if you like. They're really bloody important, to tell you the truth. I'd ideally not like to lose an agenda card, but we'll see how the game goes. and see what happens on that. So that's the crisis out there. So I've got a couple of options, haven't I now, basically. I say I can't use reinforcement actions, but I can. I could use my Unity card because that allows me to copy some actions there. That will allow me to copy any of these joint actions that are down in the joint market here. So I could do joint politics and invade. I could also do a reinforcement action, which will allow me to put another cube back on there. So I could do that. Let's have a look. Unity. I could play one from my discard, one joint, one copied action from anywhere, or I could get rid of a Harbinger and also get a trade token, but that would cost me. Oh, wow. Now you're starting to see. This is where the decision space absolutely comes, because I think there's a... it starts to be a little bit joyous. Let me just go to over here. I haven't got any material production. Oh, nuts. But I can use a credit, so I could use a credit for that. That would be good. All right. So I'm going to use the Unity card. And what this card does, and it's for the solo game, this card allows you to copy certain actions. The top one says that I can use any action from the joint focus cards down here. The middle one says that I can then copy one action from any card, be that in my hand, be that in my discard. And the third one says if I spend a fleet cube, I can then get rid of a Harbinger token, which is one of these here. And if I get rid of that, all those cards move to the left, and also get a trade token as well, which is that there. So, yeah, I think, what do we need to do? I think we need to invade, don't we? Right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to use that middle action first. Yeah, we're going to use the middle action first. And what this will allow me to do is put any fleet cubes into the, into where I've got a shipyard. That's got two, that's got two. So we're going to put them in here. So that's what we'll do. We shall... Sorry, top action first on there. We're going to use the reinforcement action, the middle action on Unity card to copy a card power. And the one that we're going to do is we are going to do the top action there, which is going to cost me 2 materials to then add another fleet cube in there. Now, how can that happen? I've only got 1 material. Well, I'm allowed to use once each go a credit to pay for that. So therefore, I'll go down 1 on material, 1 on credits, and I'm going to add a fleet cube. But what I'm going to do is just actually add another corvette into there. What you don't want to do is leave a sector empty. Okay, so by doing that, that's on there. And there we go. They've kind of split up a little bit there, and we have a couple of corvettes in there now. I'm going to leave this guy here. So that was that first action done. It allowed me to put a fleet cube in where I've got a shipyard, which I've got a shipyard in there, and that's there. Then for my second Unity action, if we look at the top there, that allows me to use any of these powers from these joint focus cards down here. And the one I kind of particularly like is the middle one, which is an invasion, basically. So I'm going to go and invade an area. It's going to cost me a credit to do that. Now, joint means that either one player can do this. So you see the black and the white figures, that's one player. That's for either joint or co-op if you like, so that's one player, and then another player. There's a red line between them, that means only one can do it. If not, then both can do it, or if there's a green line, it means one does one action and one does the other action. But we're going to do the joint politics action of invading there. So it's going to cost me a credit. Take that down. We're going to move that into the discard pile there, and then we are going to invade. Now remember, as I've already mentioned, that it's completely deterministic what happens in terms of the fact that you will know prior to going in there what your battle outcome is going to be. You're going to take the initiative value, and the initiative value is for me it's 2 there. and we know it's 3 for them down there. So I'm going to take a hit, but I'm going to be able to spread my wealth a little bit out here. So what we will do is we're going to move these guys into this particular sector. Boom. Now there's no sector defense, so I don't take a hit moving into there. What happens is that they're going to fire once and get rid of one of my cubes. There we go. That goes back onto my board. Then I'm going to fire back. Hold on a second. Don't I really want to do that? No. In fact, no, we're not going to go into that sector. We are going to go, into this sector here. So we're going to move along here instead. And the reason being is there's 2 of them. And bear in mind, where's my other cube gone? It should be on there. Bear in mind that I've got my salvo down here, which says my torpedoes, which say that I deal 2 during that first step. So they've got initiative. They're going to take one of my cubes. That's okay. That gets recalled. I'm going to fire back, though, and get 2 of theirs. Boom. Boom. And that's it. I have won, which is great. So we've taken a hit, but we spread our little kind of empire has gone out a little bit now. As you can see, we're starting to move out a little bit, starting to grow. We're getting closer to where this rift is. Just a couple of things to show you on the rift before we conclude the combat. These kind of void storms here mean that these sectors aren't adjacent to each other. That means the only way into the rift is to get in from here and in from here. Just thought I'd show you that while I was there. So we now we demolished that sector, if you like. It's yeah, it's we've got the nasty Voidborn out of there, which is not a bad move to do. I've got my little ship in there, which is good. There we go, and we've got 1 fleet power on there. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get the combat bonus or the liberation bonus for this. And let me just get this to you how the liberation bonus works. It is the number on the dice. Let me just get to combat. So it's the number on the dice. There we go. It's a population multiplied by the number of pure sectors I own. Well, this is this population here. I will own this. This will be a pure sector. So I'm going to move that corruption and show you what happens with that. So that's 3 times 1, 2, 3. So that's 9 points I get there. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And that's my liberation bonus. There are no harbingers on there. That's fine. I get whatever's on this bounty token. So let's flip it over and have a look. And it's up 2 on materials. That's good. So 1, 2. Okay, and then we'll take that off there. But now we have this corruption here. So we cleared corruption from there, but I have to do something with this corruption. This is where it goes over on my board. So there are actions in the game that allow me to clear corruption at some point, but as you can see, you have to store it first. I'm going to put that there, and that means if I put an agenda card in there, I would not be able to use that agenda card, but I can. Yeah, still at the moment, I've still got this space for an agenda card. If I put them here, 1, 2, 3, these are afflictions. Basically, this would cost me an additional 2 upkeep. 2 upkeep there for every, I think every corruption that's on there. That would mean it cost me an extra fleet power. I have to kind of sacrifice one of my fleet, if you like, when I'm going into invading a corrupted zone. And I believe this means I can't play those particular types of cards as well. So you want to kind of try and keep your corruption down as much as possible. But this is great. We've expanded now into my sectors just here. So I've got a number of sectors I own, which is really, really good. Can't really expand out into here just yet because I need to beef up my resources. So that was 2 of the actions I used on here. Now what I could do is I could flip that and take the trade token and move a harbinger, which would give me a little bit more, but I'd have to spend a resource for that. And what I kind of want to do is make sure I've got that. So I'm not going. Oh man, how do I? Because it would get rid of a harbinger, which makes this a little bit easier to manage. Yeah, okay. So what we'll do is we will flip this token and we will take the extra action, which is here. We'll take that action, flip it back, and what you do is you put that back on the board just there. Okay, so you're going to use the extra action on my Unity card. going to spend a resource. That means that goes back into there. I'm going to get rid of a Harbinger, though, from here. Let's move that away. And all these cards move down here. In reality, I think what I should have done that first game is slid the card right and put that at the bottom there. So there we go. That's how that needs to be. So that's my third go done. We don't refresh the joint market down here. My points are ticking up a little bit. I've got an extra 7 points from when I started, but as I say, the agendas are the kind of scoring engine. And now I have this here, and what it says is I either lose an agenda from my hand or in play. And I know I've got this other agenda card here, which if I keep my corruption down to 1 maximum, gives me 10 points. And then I get 4 points for each technology card or upgraded technology card that I have as well. Oh, and that can only go so. Yeah. Okay. Let's move that there. Yeah, we'll move that there. We're not going to take the penalty. We're going to put it on the track. And that means that the Voidborn fleet power is now 4. So that's the end of that particular go. So that's 3 out of the 5 that I've got to do now. So as you can see, my number of cards is dwindling, but I do have, some stuff that's in there. So we go back here and we draw another crisis card then. So we flip that over and it says, this crisis cannot be resolved. This means that there is a skirmish at the end of this particular turn. And we've seen a skirmish before. They kind of invade. They have a kind of a flowchart, if you like, of where they're going to invade. But yeah, that's going to happen no matter what I try. And it's possibly going to happen here. Which means I may well lose this. Okay, so let's see what actual cards are available to me. I can upgrade technologies. I can, do some development and get some stuff there. I can invade again for 2, which I can't do from there. I can play an agenda card. I can take an agenda card to my hand, which would allow me to actually complete that one, which could be good. Oh. Invade, move up on that population track. So that's in fact what we're going to do. What was the innovation? We already used innovation. Innovation was down here. So allows me to play an agenda card and then increase on those. No, what we'll do then is we're going to aim to all these cost me a corruption. That's kind of okay. My upkeep's okay. I can put it over there. I take 2 actions. That increases my population, allows me to remove a corruption. 3 goes left. Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll do some production, I think. I think we don't have any science buildings, but I'm just going to have to do production, I reckon. So this is what we'll do on production. Top action is I do a Voidborn deployment on the board, and that will allow me to move up on this particular track here, the society track. And if I do that, that gives me, in there where the next one is, that allows me to put down a guild anywhere that's not in a corrupted sector, not a banker's guild, and also increase my population die as well somewhere, which is good for production. So that's good. What else we got on there? That will also allow me to produce, but I could also spend 2 food as well. So I think the first one I'm going to do is that middle action. So when you see these icons that got the green around them, that means you then do the production on there. So I get to increase my food, my energy, and my materials over here. So by 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. By 3, 1, 2, 3, and by 3, 1, 2, 3. So you can see there that that production is really, really bloody useful. Then the next thing I'm going to do is going to spend 2 food to get rid of a corruption. And that's what we'll do there. Because I don't think I need that top action. Just bear with me. It's nice, but I actually want to, yeah, I want to get rid of corruption. I just want to keep on top of corruption. So what we'll do is spend 2 food, 1, 2, and we'll get rid of the corruption on my card, which is one of these here. That's how you get rid of corruption. That goes back into the corruption file. So what have we got there? We have, yeah. We have that there. The yeah, production is gone. I can't take this. Oh no, I get to get those. I knew there was something missing. I get to then get 2 victory points for each food, energy, and materials guild that I have. So I've only got 1 of each there. 4, 6. That's an extra 6 victory points. I knew there was something I was missing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. So that's that done. Then we're going to go over here and we're going to have a skirmish. And yeah, skirmishes can be a little bit difficult, and certainly as we are right now. So what we do here is on a skirmish is they're going to move into a sector based on this particular power here. So chances are they're going to be able to overtake you. And we have a look at the sectors they could move into. They can move into they can never move into my home sector, so they can move into an adjacent sector, which is one of these 2 here. And what they do for skirmish is they, let me just give me 1 second. They skirmish. I told you I'd be looking stuff up for a while. It's actually not to look up as much as I thought I would though, so that's pretty good. So skirmish, here we go. Some immediate penalties on crisis cards will announce a skirmish against you. During a skirmish, the Voidborn will attack one of your sectors. It will attack with Voidborn fleets equal to the current strength value. And that's this here, okay? I think I've got my initiative wrong. It should have been the fleets in the power, it should have been the fleets in the sector for the Voidborn. So maybe I've lost one there that I shouldn't have lost, but who knows? Okay, it doesn't really matter. It's just for illustration. I said I get something wrong. Taken directly from the supply, not from any sector on the map. You support Voidborn never attacks your home sector or any sector that is not adjacent to any Voidborn sector. So that means that these are still adjacent here. Basically, both these sectors are adjacent. If it can, it prefers to attack a sector that would win. Well, it can win either of those. Yeah. If it cannot win any sectors, it prefers to attack where you lose the most fleet power. Well, it can win either of those sectors. Let me just have a look at the top of this here. And if multiple equally preferred targets exist, the one with the highest population, that's this one here, so it's going to attack into here. And the one with the most guilds, so or then the one with the most guilds, so it's going to attack here, and it's going to attack with a strength of 4. So let me just put those in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So because I put that card on there and didn't get rid of that Harbinger, means I've got absolutely no luck of surviving here. So here we go. They've got a strength of 4. I've got a strength of, if I added them all together, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's simultaneous. Let me just do that. Resolve the combat including so I'm going to try this, I think, this combat the other way, where we look at the total fleet power. My total fleet power is, I just want to make sure, just bear with me a second. Rather, it says here for combat, it's on page 28, page 27. Determining combat. Oops. It says here, we go. Combat. Combat is split into 2 parts: the approach step and one or more salvo steps. So warring sides will deal damage to each other, forcing the opponent to recall 1 fleet power from their battle group, not to spend their supply. The approach step, sector defences deal 1 damage. I've got no sector defence in there, to the invading battle group sentry fleets. Determine initiative based on the total amount of fleet power. Usually each fleet power counts for one initiative, but this is modified by technologies. The battle group with the higher initiative deals 1 damage to the other. So they got a fleet power of 4. Total fleet power, man, does that mean everything? Let's say I've got 4. So let's do this simultaneously. I'm probably still going to lose anyway. Yeah. Remember my approach step. So what's going to happen is we're both going to shoot together. I'm going to take out 2 of theirs. Boom, boom. They're going to take out 1 of mine, which means this Corvette is actually gone. So that gets recalled back to there. This Corvette is gone. Oh no. Yeah, so we were doing so well. We'd spread our might a little bit. We got into kind of 3 sectors, but now we're back down to 2 with a reduced fleet power here. And this sector is going to become corrupt again now. So we take a corruption token. It's one of these corruption things here. Oops. And we put that on that sector, and that goes there. So yeah, we came out swinging, but unfortunately what happened is we were unsuccessful. And that's the problem with these crisis cards, is they can't be resolved. You have to go through a skirmish, and unfortunately their skirmish got me, which is no good. Okay, so that's that particular one done. I've now got 4 into my 5 goes, so I can now take my 5th go. And what can we do on my 5th go? I think I want to play an agenda card. Didn't manage to take an agenda card, did I? Yeah. Didn't manage to take an agenda card. Is there anything to allow me to regroup here? I'm going to use this so I can play an agenda card, I think, which is that one. Where's play agenda card? Don't tell me I've used it in something else. Oh, it's there. Okay. So this is going to allow me to. So we're going to play innovation, which is good. We got it in the first the ability to use it in the first one. Don't know where my innovation card's just gone. I had it. It's gone. Where's innovation gone? We lost it. There we go. Innovation fell off somewhere. There we go. Found my innovation card. So if we look at innovation, we have the first one allows me to play an agenda. The middle action allows me to play an agenda. So let's just do that. Let's play my agenda card, which is this one here, which means I have to have 1 corruption maximum. Well, will you look at that? 1 second. So to play that, I've got to pay 2 food. Yeah. But I also get to put down either a food, a materials, or an energy on any of my sectors that I control, and also increase my population die on a non-corrupted sector as well. So that's good. So I can take a food, an energy, or so let's do this. I can still control this here. We potentially want to. What have we got? Got 1 of each. What am I missing on here? My production. Let's increase my materials, I think, because materials are pretty useful. So we put that there, and we get to increase it by 2. So materials production goes up by 2. There we go. That's that done there. And therefore, I paid that, but I also get to increase the population die as well. Oh, could have done that first. Actually, we'll turn that to 3. No, turn that to 2, and we'll have that to 4, which means all of these go up by 1 as well. So there's another 1 gone onto there. 1, 2, 3, and that's gone up there. So that's allowed me to play that, and then what happens if I get 1 corruption? I get to have 10 points, and also therefore I also get 4 upgraded technologies. So this is going to come in handy. This is my scoring engine starting to work here. And what's one of these cards say? It says gain an agenda card, resolve growth agenda effect whilst having a turn order tile of 8 or lower in play. So I think I've completed that because I've resolved the growth agenda effect. I put that in place. We got 1 corruption on there. My turn order was 7. So what we're going to do is I'm going to call that one complete. Whether it is or not, I don't know. There was some clarity coming out, and all those move to the left there. So you can see that this is starting to move. Ah, yes. And as I move that down, you can see that paying that turmoil on the first one on the crisis only happens if you have cards covering these two here, or these three here, which is not. So that's good. I'm keeping on top of my kind of crisis levels just here. That was movement 1. I played that to my hand. I got an agenda there, which is my scoring engine, which is good. The second one, I can spend 2 science, and I can either get a new technology or upgrade a technology. So I think that's what we'll do. I've got enough science to spend, so 1, 2. I look at the available technologies I can take here. Okay, so we have terraforming, predictive matrix, purification, dreadnoughts, deep space missiles, sentries, autonomous drones, and interstellar transports. Right. Next thing I want to do is have a look on here, and these are the ones that I could potentially upgrade at some point: terraforming, deep space missiles, autonomous drones, and sentries. So I can either choose to upgrade my torpedoes to the upgrade that's in my hand, which allow me to add one additional damage each salvo step, which is kind of good, or get another technology. And I kind of like the idea of getting another technology. The reason being is there's some scoring aligned to those. We know that terraforming is 1. When you resolve a development focus, I may also increase my population anywhere. Autonomous drones is pretty good as well. Before resolving a combat as the attacker, I can spend a trade token to move. Yeah, in fact, that's what we're going to do. So for my second action, I'm going to add this technology. Now, this allows me, you get the amount at the bottom. Sorry, you get the bonus at the bottom when you play this card, and you. I'm going to play that. That gives me a trade token. You can only ever have 5 technologies. You can never remove the technologies. Okay. So we play that into there, which gives me the ability to spend a trade token. And also allows me to take one, because that was the bonus. And I'm going to put that here. Why am I putting that there? Purely because of the fact that that is upkeep. And if I cover that with upkeep, I don't have to pay that upkeep. So that's pretty good. But remember, if we look up the board here, I also get that bonus there. And that is a bounty token. So we take that, flip that over, and what have I got? We have got 1 increasing credit. So that's good. So I get an additional credit there. So 1, 2. There's my credits. There we go. So I get a credit there. So that's the 2 moves done on that. Oh, do you know what I didn't do? I didn't flip one of these, did I? Resolve all 3 effects, or I lose 20 points, or it goes on the board. And that's okay. It can go on the board because I've got plenty of space here. Okay, fine. I should have done that first, but I didn't do that. Sorry, I should have resolved that crisis first. So therefore, we take an autonomous drone, which is good. And I've added an agenda card. I've played my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 actions. I've done that there. I could flip that over, but that would mean I would lose the upkeep on that to get the additional turn, and I could then increase I'll get production from my science and my credits, but I'm not going to do that just now. So that is the end of my 5 goes. We go back over here, and I resolve all 3 effects on temptation focus, but it may not be upgraded. Or I lose 20 points to get rid of that card, which I'm not going to do, or I add that into the mix. And because it's blue and red up there, that's going to go up there. Boom. Whew. Okay. So now we're going to move to the upkeep phase. So upkeep, so that's all my goes done there, basically. Yeah, that's I've played. It was 5. I played 5 cards. That's the first cycle complete. I now have to pay upkeep. We pay upkeep for each one of these ships that we have, and I don't have any of those. What I've got is corvettes. That is destroyers, carriers, and dreadnoughts. So I don't have any destroyers, carriers, or dreadnoughts. So that's okay. I think that's right. Yeah, destroyers, carriers, and dreadnoughts. Yeah, I don't have any of those, so that's okay. So there's no upkeep to pay on any of those. Then I'm going to pay 1 resource for every sector defense, starbase, every shipyard, and every bankers guild I have in my sector. So if we look here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to pay 5 resources for that. Then 2 upkeep for every corruption that I have. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wasn't it? 5, 2 upkeep, that's 7. So I have 1 corruption on my board, which is there. So that's 7 upkeep. Then upkeep on technology cards. Now sometimes these have an upkeep. There we go. There's 1 there. That's 8 I have to pay. And also on my agendas if they're showing. Fortunately, I've got that trade token which covered that up. So I have to pay 8 upkeep out of my resources at this point. If we look here, it says that a plant is worth 2, and then anything else is worth 1. If I can't pay any upkeep, I lose 4 victory points. So I have 8 to pay. What's my food? I could do 4 from there, and the rest for everything else, if you like. So, in fact, let's do 2 from there. So that's 1, 2. I've got 6 left to pay. 3 from here. In fact, 4 from there, and 2 from there. And that's my upkeep paid. Right, okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to, for the cycle, is I'm going to score based on my agenda cards that I've got. So if we look here, all right, so first of all, at the top here, on my agenda card, I get the victory point bonus that is here, basically. So that gives me 6. 3 on that, and 3 on that, so that gives me another 6. Where's my little tracker? 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then, if I've got any non-corrupted sectors, which have got a population of 5 or 6, I score points. Well, unfortunately, I've got a 4 and a 2, so I don't score any victory points on there. Then, for every one of those that I've got that's not a banker's draft in a non-corrupted sector, so any guilds that I've got in a non-corrupted sector, I get 2 points. So let's have a look at what we've got. That's a banker's, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8. So there's another 8 points there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then the final one is any bankers guilds I've got in a non-corrupted sector gets me 4 victory points. Guess what? I've got 1. So that's another 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to move down onto the second agenda card down here. And the reason for that is the fact that it doesn't have a corruption on there. Obviously, had a corruption, it wouldn't do it. It says here, if I've only got a maximum of 1 corruption, I am going to get 10 points. I've got 1 corruption. That gives me another 10 points. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then the final agenda card is, I believe, I get 4 points for each technology or upgraded technology that I've got. Let me just check in the compendium. And this one is G3. Sorry, 1 second. Just want to double check on this. Each technology you have 4 or basic influence. So I've got 2 technologies, so I get another 8 points there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I finished my first cycle of 3 on 69 points, dude. So what happens now? Well, first of all, we have a look over here, and if there are any of the sectors that have more than 3 Voidborn in there, then what would happen is those Voidborn would get removed into the rift. But at the moment, 2 is the absolute maximum that we got in there. That would increase throughout the game. Then what happens is, just bear with me, as we cycle, I'm going to make sure I get all this right. So it's the evaluation phase now, the Galactic objectives. So if we look here, we've got these objectives, all right, and that says, I think if you've got 2 bankers draft, or if I've got 2 bankers draft, then I could take those benefits. If I've got 1 upgraded technology, I could take an agenda card to hand, or if not, I could have 3 resources. As I said at the beginning, I'm not going to be playing using those objectives. I just wanted to give you a more sandboxy feel. So then we retreat all excess Voidborn from the sectors. That's it, and then that's the end of the evaluation phase. So that's the first cycle complete. So what we're going to do now is just do a little bit of tidying up. These cards are going to go, all these cards will go back into my hand. So we've got those cards there. We're going to get ready for the cycle card there. We're going to get rid of that agenda card and that card there. Had I taken any of these from the market, I would then at that point kind of fill up the market. What we're going to do here is do that, and we're going to refresh the joint objective cards. So there we go. There's 3 of those there. I'll just put those away. we know that you know, things have gone okay for me, but not startlingly well. I've already removed one objective from there, so that's okay. Didn't have to pay for that, did I? No. Yeah. Okay, and then what would happen is we would move on to cycle 2. So you can see that, yeah, there's a lot to be going at here. We've got this whole exploration thing. We've got the whole kind of exploiting, getting resources. We've got extermination as there is combat in place. It just has a hell of a lot going for it. There's a lot of decision space to be made here as well. And I think, you know, like most people, when you first play Euro, I try to do a little bit of everything. And yeah, that is that's my undoing, rather than sticking to a specific strategy. What will happen is the more that you play the game, the more you will define strategies. And the great thing is as well is that these kind of starting objective cards, there are a number of those, so you know, you can play around with the various factions that you've got and see what happens. There are a number of scenarios as well. Each scenario will have myriad different ways that you can play it, and as a solo player, it's a pure joy to be able to kind of battle the Voidborn and see if you can get anywhere near defeating the Voidborn. You know, it's just a hell of a lot of fun. It's a real crunchy game. I mean, when I first played it, like everybody with a Mindclash game, is there was so much going on. You know, I think it took David kind of an hour and a half to teach Michael and I the rules on Friday night, and that's a long teach, but there's a lot going on in the game. However, once you played it a couple of times, you start getting used to the mechanisms. The key thing is going to be understanding what each of these cards does, and suddenly you're not looking up icons anymore. And so I expected to be looking at the icons a lot more than I actually did, but you're not looking up the icons anymore. What you're doing is you're actually knowing which card you've got to play and what the best time to play it is. This Crisis deck, yeah, this went relatively okay for me. One of my earlier games, that was building up very quickly from the kind of get-go there as well. And how the Voidborn kind of spread out, how my invasion is here. You know, if you look at my forces, it kind of went okay, but my army is no further on than what it was when I started the game. I've got some points, but, you know, I took a hit. And I took a hit. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I played that ever so slightly wrong, but I took a hit there basically, which meant that I had to kind of back away from this sector. Now, of course, I can try and improve my odds there by upgrading my torpedoes. By upgrading my torpedoes, it allows me to do that in each and every salvo step, not just the first salvo step. Or maybe I then also upgrade the autonomous drones as well, and that would give me something else. The amount of kind of thought that you have to put into where you put in your sector defenses, where you're going to put your shipyards, because your shipyards generate fleet power for you. It becomes really, really interesting. What I potentially could have done when I first moved into this sector, had it not been for that skirmish card that came out, is I would have looked at reinforcing that sector. I would have wanted a sector defense in there. I would have wanted a shipyard in there. Once you've built those installations, you suddenly become a little bit stronger, a little bit more powerful. Of course, those sector defenses don't negate how important they are. As we get through to cycle 2, what would happen is, the first thing is you remove one of these trade tokens. Well, first of all, that trade token there would now go back, but then you remove a trade token each go. So there we go. So that would have gone, and therefore I would have been scoring on these here. Then I would have flipped over, a bit heavy-handed there, Mark, flipped over the next 2 cards. And let's have a look at these here. I'm not going to play cycle 2 right now. It says each player gains 1 corruption that they must place on an agenda space if able. That means I will also already be kind of cancelling off one of my scoring mechanisms. And then I will add 1 Voidborn fleet and 1 bounty token to 1 adjacent Voidborn sector. Of course, I would then be able to put an installation anywhere or a guild anywhere that wasn't corrupted. That would have no absorption on there. However, the next one, you look at the top right corner, it's got an absorption on there. That means that first hit in a salvo, or in combat, be that from me or sector defense, is absorbed by the fleet, by the Voidborn. They don't take that first hit. Each player adds 1 Voidborn fleet to every adjacent Voidborn sector, with only 1 Voidborn fleet present. Wow, okay. And all players discard their innovation and temptation focuses this cycle. Yowza. Both of them have got 5 rounds on there, so I would have chosen one of those and then progress through the game, drawing another crisis card. Let's see what that would be. Gain an agenda card while having a shipyard or starbase in at least 3 of your sectors. Well, I don't, do I? Only have 2 sectors, and therefore, yeah, I don't have that. However, I would be able to spend a trade token to get rid of that or put it into my trike. So yeah, make no mistake, a lot of thought has gone into this game, and I think that what Nigel and David have done here is create something that is really exciting. You feel the enormity of it, and as I mentioned earlier on, what you have to do is almost step back and look at this at a galactic level. The time, you're not observing it in minutes and hours, you're observing it in decades and millennia. Everything that happens over a vast distance, over a vast number of years, and you're trying to fight back these Voidborn who are wanting to take over your part of the galaxy. And I think for people that want this kind of game, this absolutely fills that need. I was a bit daunted by it to start off, but now I've played it more and more, I'm less daunted and more having fun with playing around with strategies. That's possibly my highest score on a first cycle that I've just got there is 69. I think I've had a 61 or a 62 before, but 69 is my highest score. Remember, as a solo player, I'm aiming for kind of 300, or so I can close the rift, or I'm looking to try and beat 230 plus all of those there. So in reality, what I'm looking at doing is every cycle trying to double my score, if you like. So by the end of the second cycle, I'd be looking at somewhere around about 140, 150, 160, if not more than that. And by the end of the third cycle, I'd be looking at well into the 300s, if at all possible. It's not going to be possible. My last game started off well, and then by the third cycle, everything had collapsed around me. The challenge starts increasing as well. Your early game is about engine building, and that's really, really important. Getting that engine, getting that scoring mechanism, building up your forces, be that in your military or building up your star bases. And bear in mind, each of these objective cards, your starting objectives, kind of pushes you in a slightly different way as well. The later game becomes about trying to make sure you've got enough forces so you can tackle the rift, because if you can tackle that rift with 300 plus points, that's it. But that engine has to be there to start off with. Later game, those crisis cards become less of a danger to you, because you might have managed them correctly. And bear in mind, I didn't fill up any of the catastrophe spots as well. If you manage them correctly, your engine will be stronger. You'll have more of an inkling of what you can do and how you can do things. So it becomes about shifting focus. Early part of the game, building that engine. Latter part of the game, either building up as many points as you can or trying to kind of destroy that rift. Look, I think I covered most aspects there of the solo game. I say there are a number of scenarios where other things will happen, but I'm sure that you will agree that that is a bloody good game. I enjoy almost everything about this game. It's got the right level of pressure, the right level of kind of brain burniness going on. And as a solo player, or I've had a look through the co-op rules, and Michael Kelly and I went through them quite in depth with David over the weekend. I'm sure you could play co-op as well as a solo player, but getting more people involved in this would be really fun as well. But as a solo player, I know I'm going to put this out and have a couple of hours of really losing myself in a deep-ranging, deep-thinking 4X space game. So thank you very much for joining me on this journey through Voidfall from Mindclash Games. Coming to Kickstarter on the 28th of September. As I say, the link is in the description below. Designed by Nigel Buckle and by David Turczi. Look, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I don't think you're going to go far wrong if you're looking for this kind of game to back this game. Whew. I may record cycles 2 and 3 at some point. I may not. I may just leave that there and then because but no, I think I will. Check back over on the Not Board Gaming channel over the next couple of weeks for cycles 2 and 3 as separate videos, not part of the Kickstarter, but just something to see how the match plays out, and let's see how I finish this particular match. So thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget you can like and subscribe to the channel. You can check out our other videos. Check out the Voidfall Kickstarter on the link below. Launches on the 28th. Make sure you back it. It's Mindclash. You know it's going to be classy. And also it's David Turczi and Nigel Buckle of obviously Imperium Classics fame. Certainly a designer to watch out for. So until next time, remember, nobody else to play with. Nothing wrong with playing with yourselves. Bye-bye.